Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, we'll learn about lazy column in Jetpack Compose, which is similar to Recycle View. We'll create a cat adoption app that has a functionality to add and remove data using state and view model. So for example, here we can scroll data down, and also we can remove data by just clicking this cat here. And also we can add new cats by clicking this floating action button here. So without further ado, let's get started. So before we start in this project, I have added starting data like the images of cards and the data class, so as you can see here in this folder, we have here data class, and we have created here data class of cats, and we have created these cats. Also, if you come here to this phrase and here to draw, you can find these images of cats. So you can just go and download it on GitHub, and we are good to go. Okay, now let's collapse this, and we are going to create here a new file. And we are going to call this home. Now, let's start by creating a home composable, which is going to be our screen for the entire UI. So let's create here a new composable, and we're going to call this home. And inside here, this home, we are going to use a scaffold. So we are going to use this scaffold, and this scaffold has the inner padding. So we are going to use this inner padding inside our lazy column. So this lazy column also contains the content padding. And then we are going to pass that the default padding, which is provided by this lambda function. And then inside here, we are going to call all of our items on our composable, but it's different from the column one. And inside here, let's create a list item so that we can just display here a list which is in a horizontal format, as you have seen. So in order to do that, we are going to create another composable, and we are going to call this cat list item. And inside here, this cat list item, we're going to use a row. And there are two ways which you can use, and there is another way which is using the experimental APIs, but it's just really simple. So I'm going to show you later in this video. Right now, let's create this manually. So we are going to use a row inside here, and inside this row, we are going to use horizontal arrangement. And now inside here, we are going to create the image. And this image is going just to display that the image of the cat. And we have to pass here the cat. So we can just pass in here a cat. Have to use a printer resource ID here, and we have to put the cat. We pass in here the cat image, and we're going to pass in here now. So right now we have created here our image, and we can try and create here the text. And this text are arranged in a vertical format. So we're going to use a column here. And inside this column, we are going to create here a text. And this first text is going to use the name. And we can pass in here a typography. And we're going to use here HANA 6. So we can duplicate this, and here we can use the gender. And we are going to use body 2. Also, we can change here color. So we're going to decrease here the opacity of this color, and we can change it to 0.5. So now let's try and preview here our function. So let's create here a preview function. And we are going to call this. And we are going to call that cat list. The inside here, we have to pass in the cat. So we're going to use here a remember function in order to get the we're going to generate a random cat, and we are going to pass in here that cat. Now, let's try and preview here our function and see. So here is our UI which we have created, this list item. So we are going to use this, and we have to create a header so that we can display it here in this lazy column. So let's do this right now here. So let's collapse this one here, and then we are going to create here a room so that you can see it properly. So we are going to create here another composable, and this composable we are going to call it header. And inside here, this is going to take here two parameters. We are going to get the text. We're going to display, and then we pass in a default modifier. So inside here, we're going to use the surface. And inside this surface, we're going to pass in here color. Then we're going to use the material theme. Then we pass in here the content color. Also, we're going to use the material theme. Then we're going to use the primary color. Also, we have to provide here the modifier. Now we are going to pass in here a text. This text is going to take up text. Then we have to find this. We use the subtype 2. Now we want to fill up the whole. We have to pass in here the modifier. So we have created here our header. So we are going to use this header inside the lazy column. So let's just do it right now. So now let's fill up here a lazy column, and this is different from the column composable, which you accepted directly taking up the composables. So inside here, we have to use a function, and this function is called item. And here we're going to add a single item. So we are going to use the header composable, which we have created, and we are going to pass in here the text. Going to pass in here. So this header here, we are adding here a single item. We can add it here the multiple items. So first and foremost, we have to create here a state of this, which is going to hold up the list of these cards. And if you don't know states, I'm going to bring up here a card so you can watch the state in the state video, which is going to help you. So let's use here and we are going to call this cat. And we're going to use the remember keyword function here in order to bring up so we're going to use the repository here, the cats repository, the flex cats repository, which we have created in the data class. So we are going to get cats here. And inside here now we have to use the items. Then these items here, we are going to pass in the cats. And inside this lambda function, you have to import, because sometimes you do not import it. And then inside these items here, we can pass in that cat. We're going to rename this reference here. Then we can pass in the cat items. And we're going to pass in here. So now let's create here a preview function for the home. So now let's rebuild here our project and see what's going to happen. So as you can see here now, we have created the UI, and this one is our UI, which is looking pretty good right now. But we have to make these images rounded. So we are going to jump inside here, and we can fix this by adding here a modifier. So we are going to pass in here a modifier, and then we are going to clip this to be a rounded form. So inside here, we are going to use the material theme. We're going to use the material theme shades. Then we are going to clip this to small rounded corners. So right now, if we try and rebuild and see here, now we have given that polish, which we have gained these rounded corners here. Now let's try and run this on a real device and see. So If you launch up, the app will be empty, as you can see here, and this is because we have not created this on the main activity. So it's going just to display a blank. So let's jump inside here and fix this by calling here the home composable. Right now here we can try and rebuild, and we can see right now. But now the app is launched, and as you can see here, we have the data, and you can scroll here down and up. So right now, if you click, there is nothing which is happening. And this is because we have not added the state so that it can react to it. So when we are clicking, and we can do this by using the view model. So we are going to jump inside there and create a event that is going to help us to remove and add items. Now let's create here a view model so that we can place those events and the state. So we are going to create here a new file. And this file, we are going to call this that the thing here, if you want to. Now here we can create. So we can create here a mutable state, and inside here we are going to create here. We're going to use the cats breakpoint, and then we're going to get here cats. So inside here we can create now the add functionality. So we are going to create here the events. Now we can take this cat, and we can use here the get method so that we don't have to create here by every time we call the two values. So inside here, we're going to call this cat. Then we are going to use the cats. And then we're going to add the list of cats. So inside here, we are just adding up this cat and this one. So we are adding inside here. And also we can create here a remove function. And this parameter takes in a cat. Then now we can take the cat. Then we can convert this to mutable list. We are going to remove cat. So right now here we are done with the view model. So what we need just right now is just to hook up these events inside the composables. So right now here we want to click and add up a card. And in order to do that, we are going to use a floating action button. So inside this scaffold, we are going to create here a floating action button. Now we have created the floating action button. Now we have to pass in this event inside here. So in this column here, we can pass in here the event. We are going to pass in here a variable that is going to take up the cat. So it's going to bring up the list of cats. And also we have to create here the click functionality. So in order to add here, we have to use the and we don't need any more of this. So we are going to create here the cats. And so inside this on click, we are going to pass in the on. And here we have to generate a random cat. So if we are building a real world application, we could pass in here the data. So we are going to just use the generate random cats inside here. And now we are passing this cat inside here. Also, we have to pass in the on remove. So now we want when this cat list is going to be clicked so that we can get the data. So inside here, we are going to add another function here, and then we are going to make this clickable, and we have to pass in here the event. So we are going to add here on remove cat. And we are going to call this on remove cat inside this. So when this is going to be clicked, we want to remove the cat. So now when this item is going to be clicked, we want to remove the cat, and inside here, now we can pass in the onRemove function. Now we can fix these errors because they are rising here. And also we can fix here the error and pass in just a lambda function. So right now we have to fix this in here inside the main activity. And in order to fix this, we have to create here a new variable. And this we are going to call the cat's view model. So inside this home here, we have to pass in the cat. So we are going to use the view model, cat's view model. And we are passing here the list of cat. And also we have to pass the onRemove here. So right now here, our app is ready to launch. As you can see, we have used this. So let's try and launch up our application and see how it's going to respond. So now the app is launched. Let's try here, and we can try here to remove data. Let's scroll down side here. As you can see, when we click the list is going to be updated. So we are creating here a dynamic list. And this is similar to just the recycler view. Also, we can add here data. In this video, I said that you can create a cat list or a list item by just using a scaffold or a slot API. So we're going to do this. Let's just jump in here, home, and we are going inside this here. We can try and collapse this. So we can use here this API, and this API is just an experimental API, so you can use this list item. And when we add this, you can see here we have an error, so we can place alt enter here in order to import that. So we can add this the experimental API, and inside here now we can use this. So we can pass in here the modifier. So we can pass in here the onRemove, and we can pass in the cat. And also we can add the party, which is similar just to what we did here. And now this is provide slots which you can pass in here. Now, for example, here we can pass in the icon. And now in this icon here, we can pass in our image. So let's just copy this image here, and we can pass in here the image. And inside here also, we can pass in the text. So it's good to structure here our text by not just using these columns and other things. So we pass in this first text. Also, we can pass in the secondary text. So if we have a secondary text, we can just use this text here. And now, as you can see here, we got rid of all of those boilerplate codes which we have created. And now that's really simple using the slots which is provided by this list item. So it is similar to that of a scaffold. So I think it is much more easier than implementing a recycler view from scratch. So you can try and rerun this app and see if it works. So for now, let's leave it here. See you in the next video.